Hey, everybody. Sorry, I usually do our countdown and
I was like,
was
no,
like, let's go. Time to roll. Hey, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. Welcome to Astrology, not after dark or with coffee. Monday night. It's Monday night astrology. um, did either of you watch the Super Bowl? Is that anything you guys are into?
I did watch the first half.
Okay.
I
That was
watched
the boring
it
half.
and I'm pretty upset about it
Yeah.
for a number of reasons.
It was divisive, I would say. But I loved
Yeah.
Usher's halftime show, so
He did a really good job. Also, I was like, didn't realize we were so close in age.
You and Usher?
He's only like 3 years older than me.
He's a Libra. His wife's a Libra, just in case anyone was wondering. I was like, what? They have like children. I know. They have so many children. I'm like, what are their signs? Got to be some Libra in there. And there they were, Libras.
That's funny.
Let's get back on astrology topics.
Sorry.
It just felt applicable because we did an astrology after dark about, and we had Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce as a couple chart that we did together. So that was fun.
It was a good one.
I didn't think it was that promising, but look at them go.
I mean, yeah, she finished her tour. Well, I don't know if she's finished, but he finished his season. We'll see if it lasts through the empty space times.
He sounds like a toddler, and I was embarrassed for him. But, you know.
That's fair.
I'm just saying.
Well, perfect. I'm with the Academy of Logic and Light, and we're hosting this wonderful astrology class with Elle down below and Julie, our beautiful and talented astrologers. The Academy of Logic and Light is a community education platform that provides a safe space for people to practice their spirituality without being indoctrinated. We have monthly meetups, both virtual and in person in Salt Lake Valley. We also are on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and a Facebook group, all under the Academy of Logic and Light. We also have a Patreon, so you can find us over there if you like what we're doing and you want to support us. All these links are down below. Also, if you just want to share this video, give us a like, comment, all of the things is super helpful. We love getting our names out there. And if you're interested in teaching with us, like Elle and Julie are today, or if you have an in-person class or anything else that you're interested in sharing, let us know. We do a lot more than just astrology. We have like crystal classes and herbology, things like that are up and coming. So we're so excited to start rolling more things out. This year's going to be huge. Anyway, so that's all about the Academy of Logic and Light. Also, my name was Megan. I don't know if I ever said it, but there we go.
Here's our introduction and just totally flip yourself.
I'm just here to say these things, and then I'll turn it over. But today we're talking all about the house rulers of your fifth house. So I'm super excited to talk about all this, and it's been really interesting learning about them. So I'm looking forward to hearing all of the wonderful stuff. If you guys are tuning in, let us know what you're drinking, where you're at, or what your sign is, especially if you know what your fifth house is. Then we can tell you what your planets are ruling it.
We're looking hard to find fun and children and crazy.
Well, I'm super excited. So I will turn the time over to Julie and Elle. I'm just going to run a quick little intro that still says astrology and coffee, but we will get to that.
You can have coffee if you'd like. It's fine.
Hi.
Hello. Julie and I are having astrology and kombucha tonight. So
astrology and kombucha. Cheers.
And we have the same brand. I'm so proud of this. Shout out to this brand because it's really delicious.
It is really good.
Cool brand coming soon, but
That'll be exciting. I can't wait to try it.
you know, it's delicious. Also, I love your aesthetic back there. You got your little candles lit. I need to like read through my house, ignore the door and that window that needs to be.
My friend literally came over and hung these like 2 hours ago.
Seriously,
So
looks
I was
so
like,
good.
whoa. Yeah,
Like,
and
aesthetic check.
yeah,
Ooh,
Yeah.
look at you. I love
she's
it.
got a whole vibe.
No, it is. I like that.
Yeah, shout out to all of your friends that can actually like use their hands for things because I'm like, I need help.
How do I
She
do
hung up 20 pieces of art for me today.
Oh, what a nice friend.
I know. I needed that help so bad.
You're like, thank you. Greatly
Yeah.
appreciated. All right. I'm
got-
excited.
A couple people watching already.
It is
We got Neil. She's in Salt Lake.
nice.
Neil. We got Rachel.
What is your fifth house
Rochelle.
for Rochelle? Ooh, the best spicy margarita. And she uses the best mixer with it. I swear to God, you don't have a hangover. You feel so. It's like organic.
Ooh.
That's a kombucha girl.
Ooh,
All
nice.
in there. So delicious.
Love that.
And hers fifth house ruler is Libra.
Libra.
Texted her right before our live. I was like, in case you watch. Kayla, I'm sure
Perfect.
she's here. Awesome.
Okay.
So the fifth
Good.
house, just to reiterate, and we'll kind of get the charts up in circle so you guys can look for your rulers. The fifth house is children, creativity, fun. It's also that initial stages of lust and the beginning of like relationships and friendships, that fun like honeymoon stage. That's kind of fifth house energy. I'm not saying there's not a lot of depth there because obviously children resides here and there's obviously a lot of depth. And fifth house is really going to show where you shine with children. I'm going to kind of bring those points up as we talk. But yeah, it's just all of that energy, fun, playful, creative, exciting. Think of like a stage and the main characters on it and how they get to act dramatic or childlike or whatever. It's just kind of that energy. That is what the fifth house holds. So depending on what your ruler is going to be kind of the vibe of that scene of your life for you. So we'll go through all the signs. And that way you can kind of see, because I mean, you've got to have one of them as the ruler. So
Yeah, let's go ahead and go straight into the chart and then we'll show you. Fifth house is here.
and then on cusp, which is the line, the first slice of the pie, it's in Sagittarius. But if you were to look, if this were tilted a little bit, it's really close to Scorpio, but you're still, technically this is a Sagittarius fifth house ruler. So you look at Jupiter because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So that's going to be a big theme of your life. So this person will have kids. It's unclear. Wait, is this Kayla's?
No.
No. So this person will have children. And let's see, Neptune. And yeah, be very nurturing in the sense of, so what I'm looking at is their Sagittarius ruler is Jupiter. So then we go up to Jupiter, and Jupiter is in the 10th house and next to the sun, and it's also in Taurus. And Taurus being a nurturer and like mother kind of energy, it does signify that there most likely will be children in this person's life.
Even if they may be from someone else?
Possibly.
Like,
yeah.
These could be stepkids.
Could be stepchildren, absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have children. That's something else we'll kind of look at in the fifth house, but it definitely does represent that they do raise and have children, however that looks for them. It could be like, say if you were, a couple of the same sex and you were to adopt, it's that same kind of energy. It doesn't change. It's really just whatever your circumstances are, you have children.
Okay, cool. Let me erase these so I can come back to them. And then
so that's how you find your fifth house ruler, is you exactly what we just did. You look at your piece of pie, you go to the fifth house, you look at the line that splits that. See, like this one is a little different than the last one. The last one, if it was the same angle, it would have actually been Virgo, but because of it being at the different angle, it's Leo. So in this case, the sun is your 5th house ruler, and it's that kind of energy.
And the sun is in the 12th.
Again, I mean, this one could indicate children and a very fun parent. Because also the sun being in Taurus. So that's an indicator that there are children involved in your life. Again, whether they're yours or someone else's or however that comes about. But it is interesting to see how it's in Leo. This is like the perfect example of what I was just talking about. It's in Leo. It looks like it should technically be Virgo because most of the house is occupied by Virgo. Like if you were to have planets in there, they would be Virgo. But you don't. So that's a totally different thing. But just to clarify for the people that are confused, like, well, mine's kind of on this house. Whatever house that it touches, whatever sign that is in, that is the house ruler. So my chart, I have a ruler. I don't know if we have mine on hand. My 5th house, so my house ruler covers my 5th house. It goes all the way through my 6th house. So my chart ruler for my 5th and my 6th house are both in Taurus.
Oh, now I'm going to look at your chart because I need to see what this looks like.
Yeah.
I feel like we should just add them to the thing so we can pull them up and reference them just in case.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, mine I know for sure, and I honestly don't see it often. My Taurus Scorpio energy goes there.
Oh, I see. 5th house Taurus.
And my
Taurus
is Taurus.
Oh.
See how it touches both of the...
Oh, yeah, I see that. Interesting.
I have a lot of children, guys. And I have yet, so here we are.
All right, I'm ready to go back. All right. All right, here we go.
So if your 5th house ruler is Aries, which we all know is Mars, you're going to look for Mars in your chart. And I made some notes this time too so that I could be very accurate on this. So a lot of times what happens is when you have a 5th house ruler, your 5th house ruler, say, is Aries, and say your Mars is in a fun, lively house. Say it's in the 9th house. The 9th house is travel and exploring and learning. And so when you have that kind of placement, when you have your Mars in a house that's of fun and it kind of really aligns with 5th house energy, which again, I was saying is like, you know, the center of attention and children and the beginning stages of love, it's kind of like it really coincides really well. So this makes for a very extreme person, but like in the best way, like really fun, really theatrical. It gives this person a kind of a dynamic personality. Whereas if you have it in maybe like the 8th house, say your Mars is in the 8th house and your Aries, and again, we're doing modern. I'm doing modern. I'm not going to use the traditional. That way it doesn't confuse everybody. So if you have like your Mars in the 8th house, it's more secretive. It's more quiet. You're not going to be as loud and as rambunctious. You're going to be more, it's going to be more hidden and it's not going to shine as bright. It also depends on what planets are here. So if this house is completely empty, you might be lacking the confidence, or if you have a lot of things here that conjunct each other, it could be a really explosive personality, and fun and lively and just very passionate. And if anyone watches Ginny and Georgia, it's kind of like the best friend of Ginny, the crazy one, Maxine. Max. That's
I feel like you referenced this for another one, and I can't remember which one you did.
Because her personality is really not like anyone I've ever really watched a show on. And she's just so much. She's like so dramatic. And she's in like plays and things. Like she's an act, like she does like the school plays and the school whatevers. And she's very dramatic. And, you know, it's that kind of energy. So, and I feel like people watch that. Maybe not. Maybe I need to like read the room and like find a better. If you have show ideas, I will watch it and I'll tell you what everyone's sign, what they act like. So
that's what my favorite thing about watching reality TV. I wait the whole season and I try to guess by the end. And because we're in modern times, their birth charts are like all on the internet. I'm obsessed. Yeah. Such a good exercise.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite thing to do. I'm telling you, Kardashians.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It all started. I'm like, when are their birthdays? What are their birthdays?
Look, we got it. Ginny and Georgia's a perfect example. You're good.
Yes. Yep, I knew it. I knew she would understand. I'll go through it later on who's what, but yes, that Maxine is this kind of Mars, Aries over the 5th house type of energy, because she's very, like, her life is very, she's got to be the center of it, you know? She has a twin brother who doesn't even exist because she's so like, ah! That's the Aries ruler of the 5th house in 2 different houses to kind of give you an example of what they can look like. Actually, truthfully, the other one in the 8th house is more of her brother's energy. He's just dark and quiet and sad. But, you know, where all the planets are, it really can change the whole chart. So I'm not saying that you have to be sad if this is your placement. I'm just saying that if you don't have a lot of planets there, things that don't aspect well, it can create that kind of energy.
Mm.
So if your 5th house ruler is in the 2nd house, so let's use, again, we're aligning the houses with the sign that it would originally go into the house of. I think that's going to be the easiest way. So
yeah.
If Taurus is your 5th house ruler, think of Taurus energy. You know, Taurus is conservative, protective, consistent. They love snacks. There's just things about Taurus that's very earthy, very grounding. You take that and you mix it with the 5th house energy, the fun, this person is probably, the one making sure that the stage is set, making sure that everyone's happy, making sure things are lined up. Not quite like a Virgo, we'll go into Virgo, but just making sure everything's running smoothly and the aesthetic looks beautiful, and making sure they're not necessarily like the person like main stage, they're behind the scenes kind of energy. Also, with this placement, this is a huge indicator of having children. And so if you see the 5th house ruler being Taurus, this is a huge indication that there's children and that they have multiple children. I'm pretty sure Kim Kardashian has this. I'm pretty sure that who's this other person I was just like, Nick Cannon. Lots of children. I mean, these are it depends on so much. So just to give you an example, is in the 5th house and it's ruled by Taurus. So my moon, my emotions, and then Venus is in the 9th house. So it flows really well, but it is a recipe for multiple children. And I see this, and I'm not going to say which kid. I have a kid that has a placement that indicates a lot of kids, and I can't wait to see their life as they get older, because I'm like, I'm very curious. So if you have Taurus in the 5th house, this indicates that children are a huge part of your life, that you may be a little possessive as a parent because it's kind of in our nature, but very loving. But again, if we're using the scene of the play as a way of kind of putting it in perspective too, it's just someone behind the scenes making sure things are getting taken care of, moving along. They're not bossing orders, but they're like, oh, this is not aesthetically pleasing, and they're maybe tying, little things off or whatever, just making the stage look beautiful. Because Taurus is ruled by Venus, so then you're going to look at where Venus is in your chart and tie that into that 5th house energy that we just talked about. Like if you have Venus in a very promising place, maybe in the 7th house, maybe the 11th house, your friendships, maybe you have really good relationships, or friendships that turn into relationships, or you just have really good partnerships, like that kind of feeds into this as well. Versus if you have Venus in the 12th house, you might experience a lot of loss, and it can be very dramatic with that 5th house energy. You just have to take what house your Venus is in, because Venus rules Taurus, and you also need to take in consideration the aspects in your chart and how they work together. So you can't express that enough.
It's an entire puzzle.
You got to put the pieces together. Yeah, I've been putting them together for years.
So my 5th house is ruled by Sagittarius.
Okay.
And then I follow Sagittarius to Jupiter.
Yes.
So mine sits in the 4th house.
In what sign?
Sorry, my Jupiter?
Yeah, what sign is your Jupiter?
Sagittarius. Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's got to be close, because if it's in the 4th house and your 5th house ruler, I mean, that gives you, if you think about it, Sagittarius, that energy, fun, free, very free spirited. You know, you don't have a lot tying you down, which is a true Sagittarian nature. And then when you take it all the way to the Jupiter, which is in the 4th house, which is a family, it still gives you this free spirit. Like, if your Jupiter would have been in Taurus, or if your 5th house would have been Taurus ruled, I'd say indication of kids, and we follow things, right? But yours shows no indication of children, because it doesn't have, I mean, it could, because you do have Jupiter in the 4th house, but it's not, Sagittarius is kind of a free lone wolf in a sense of, and other things depend on your chart, but just off of a generalization, it doesn't necessarily scream roots, locked down, family, children. It just kind of, it's free. It's a very free spirit. And I think that that's very true to you. And, you know, I'm not saying one day, because you have all these other things going on in your chart, but you do live your life in a free, like, you don't have a lot of ties that are pulling you down. Like, where you have, I mean, children tie you down. You're done.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm gypsy, but my poor children. But you know what I mean? Like, in a way, it always ties you down, because you can't just up and leave.
My cats are the only reason I'm not living in Spain right now.
Can you not take them with you?
Yeah, but it's like 2 cats. I'd have to take someone with me, and then I'd have to transfer back to New York. So it's all options, but you know, if I continue to stay flying for long term, we'll see. Yeah.
Well, but it does. That setup that you just described is fun and free and light and very gypsy vibes. I'm saying gypsy again, guys. I'm sorry. I'm finding that offensive. I don't think that I'm the astrologer you should be watching. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it. I like the word, and it makes me feel, I just like it. It makes me happy.
I get it.
All right. If your ruler of the 5th house is in the 3rd, well, if your 5th house ruler is in the 3rd house, so this is going to be Gemini energy. So think of how much fun Gemini energy is mixed with the star of the show, creativity, children. I mean, when you take Gemini energy, it's already creative. They're thinkers. They think, they move. Their brain is constantly going. They can't stop. Rochelle, if you're watching this, I'm going to call you out real fast. She's a Gemini moon and a Gemini rising. So she's a Libra sun, but she's got so much Gemini in there that I feel like this resonates. Gemini probably resonates more with her, but these are thinkers. They're quick. They don't have time for slow. They're advanced in like how they speak, and everything just comes to them so naturally. You take that energy and you mix it in with the 5th house. It's like a recipe for just like a good time. It's super fun. It's, you know, when you first meet someone, you know, like that fun banter that you have. It's like playful. It's like mean, but not too mean. Like no one's feelings really get hurt. It's like, we all been there. We've all had that. And that's so fun, right? That's like, because Geminis are witty and smart, and 5th house is like new beginnings, just meeting someone, lust and all of that. And then if you take that and you mix it with say a different side of that, children, I mean, who doesn't love a fun parent? Who doesn't love the parent that's like on an adventure or exploring, or, you know, just doing all the things? So it's really a benefit when you have the ruler of the 5th house in the 3rd house, especially if it's Gemini, and say your Mercury is in the 3rd house. I mean, it ties the two together. You probably have really good siblings. You guys probably have a lot of fun. You were probably, do you ever like see kids that like grow up with their siblings and like make dances together, or they like do all these things that I'm like, I don't know, maybe my sister's older than me, maybe that's what it is, but like I didn't do shit like that with my siblings. Those kids had a lot of fun with their siblings. That's this kind of energy. So you're like, I can't relate, but yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that there was like some live performances, but we never were able to coordinate anything.
Yes, yeah.
Ever.
Now I think TikTok has totally changed that for people.
Yeah.
I get snaps of people doing TikToks that I don't know that are like, oh, look at these TikTokers. And it's just like 2 or 3 girls doing a dance. They don't even know they're being recorded. And I'm just like, wow, like,
This
I don't
is
know.
it.
That's where we're at. I love it. I'm here for it. it's just not what I would be doing. But my
Yeah.
daughter is all over that. She loves it. TikToks are a little life away. So, fun energy if your fifth house ruler is ruled by Gemini and your Mercury, because Mercury is ruled by Gemini. I'm trying to make sure that I put those pieces together because people are like, where the fuck did she come up with Mercury? Mercury is ruled by Gemini, and then you follow your Mercury to whichever house it is. So if it's in the third house, that's delightful because those connect really well. If it's in, let's think here, if it's in the sixth house, it might be a little more straining on your if it's Gemini, say you're Gemini, even if you had a Gemini Mercury, if it's the sixth house, I mean, it could be just really disconnected because the fifth house is fun. And I hate to say this, sixth housers, but it's not fun. It's all rules, it's all regulations. It's like the worst part of your job is the sixth house. Like that's sixth house energy. So
I'm scared for next week.
I am going to say nice things, I promise.
I got a stellium in the sixth house.
I know. Well, and the sixth house is needed. It is needed heavily because we need structure and we need that, kind of energy. It's just not fun as fun as the fifth house. But you have fifth house stuff too, so it kind of balances.
Yeah. We try.
Sometimes I'm fun, sometimes I'm not.
Yeah, I just referenced myself as a weed. Nobody turned me in.
It's fine. People think that I have multiple personalities too. It's no big deal.
Just different sides of me. It's fine.
I have a mouse in my pocket. It's okay. No, but I mean, third house, I love this kind of energy. If you have Mercury in the third house, that's really good. If you have it in the 11th house, that can be super fun. Ninth house, first house, all that kind of vibes. Sixth house would be a little challenging. The 12th house also would be a little challenging. So just kind of, if you do have those placements, look at your challenges and how you meet them. And it's not one of those houses that takes problems on, full like force. But I mean, it could. If you had Saturn in your fifth house, I mean, you might really struggle with fun and letting go and enjoying life. But depending on, how it aspects with your, I'm trying to think which sign we're on with your Mercury, because we're talking about Gemini. I mean, it can really affect things. It can change things. So your whole chart is just based on the planets too. So that's a huge indicator of what really is going on. We're just kind of giving you the energy so that you can put your chart together and figure out what is for you.
Yeah.
All right. The fifth house ruler. So if your fifth house ruler is Cancer, this one is the one where you chase to the moon because Cancer is ruled by the moon. Now, I will say if your Cancer is your fifth house ruler, you're going to be fun. It's going to be this fun, creative energy, but it's going to be a little different. Cancer energy is more homebody. It's more nurturing. It is a slower pace. Depending on what planets are here, you might be someone who falls in love really fast, or you might be someone that it takes forever. It just depends on other aspects in your chart. But it really indicates somebody that likes to fall in love because Cancers do love love. And the fifth house is about lust. So as long as your Neptune isn't here, because I feel really bad if your Neptune is in the fifth house, and maybe some squares of like illusion, because Neptune gets a little foggy and sometimes it doesn't show us clear sight of things. So you have
Neptune's in the fifth house.
Yes, it is.
I was like, no, this is horrible. Our Neptune fucks with me too.
Oh yeah.
I do not have a good relationship with Neptune right now.
It just puts the blinders on, which is fun at first.
Oh, for sure.
And that's what yours is. Your Neptune is fun at first because it's in that 5th house of lust in the beginning. But man, when those blinders get revealed, it's like
gnarly.
You have to check yourself. You're like, did I send her into this situationship like this? Like,
yep.
It's alarming. But I think as you evolve and go through a little more shit, you're really going to really figure that out and kind of be able to scrape away at those blinders when they're there. You'll be able to see things. If your 5th house is totally empty, that is not alarming. So my friend's daughters is empty, and so depending on what her ruler is, so what, Kayla, what is Jaden's 5th house ruler? We'll ask that, and then we'll chase that to where it's at, because it could be, again, like that one, the birth chart that we looked at initially was Sagittarius, but then we followed Jupiter all the way up to the top of the chart, and it was in Taurus, so it indicated children. And I'm not saying that those are the only things that indicate children, but so I don't think we have our daughter's chart, but we can reference this. Yeah, so when we were looking at this chart and we followed Jupiter, which is, at the very top right there next to the sun, that little sign that looks like a 4, that's Jupiter, and it's in Taurus, so that's an indication of children. Oh, my daughter's watching Jenny and Georgia right now as we speak.
That's hilarious.
So once she responds with that, then I'll kind of go into that for her. But so say that Cancer is the 5th house ruler and your moon is in the 12th house. This person, I would guarantee, is very creative, like with poetry or just heavier creative arts and things that are a little deeper and that aren't like I'm trying to think of what it's called when people like read poetry, like or they speak poetry. What are they called?
Man, I can't think of the word right now.
It's like that kind of energy, because it's still like they want the center stage, right? Like they want to be seen and they want to be the attention, but they don't want like all the lights and the flashy stuff. They want it to be dark. So when you think of a Cancer, they're not super dark. It's not going to be like Scorpio, because Scorpio and Pisces will kind of fall into these same things, but it's emotional star seeking interest, if that makes sense. They want to be the star of the show, but they want to express emotions and they want to express pain, especially 12th house, because you guys love pain, and just like expression of themselves through art. And so whatever that looks like, whether it be a painting, whether it be poetry, whether it be, I don't even know what kids are doing these days. I'm sure there's something out there that I don't know, but however they express themselves. Oh, she's going to screenshot it. So if it's the 5th house ruler is Cancer and it's empty, then we go to her moon and see where her moon is in her chart and see what's going on there. So that's it's so hard to follow. And I know you guys have been great every week. So I'm trying to go slower. I'm trying to speak slower. We're doing like house for house now, because trying to get 2 or 3 in on one session is just too much. So
can I ask, what if I follow my moon then, because all of the Jupiter's in the 4th house, so then I follow the Cancer to the moon's in the 2nd house.
So Sagittarius rules your 5th house, and your Jupiter's in the 4th house, and Cancer is your 4th house ruler. What's your
sorry, Scorpio.
So then you go to Pluto, not your moon.
Oh, interesting.
Or Mars, depending if you're looking at traditional. I'm not trying to confuse anybody with that, but if you study traditional, you're going to go to Mars. If you study modern astrology, you're going to go to Pluto. So
Pluto 3rd house or Mars 6th house.
So yeah, and I think we've talked about both of those check for you.
Yeah.
Because Pluto in the 3rd house, right?
Yeah.
Is direction of, family, siblings, that's a huge transformation for you in life, and the things you go through siblings. Also could be communication, like this is like a placement for like someone with maybe like a speech impediment or a lisp or something like that. And so, and then the 6th house, mental health and how you take action is very assertive, but it can be very straining on your mental health and things like that. So
that is a fact.
Just depends on which one you really resonate with and you think that is more accurate for your study. So just depends. I don't want to steer anyone in any way because I know that it's like, you know, the best way to explain the differences of astrology is like, it's like looking at an eyeball, but looking at it from all the different perspectives. You know, you can see someone's eye from this side or this side, and it's the same eyeball. It just looks a little different. It doesn't mean that it's wrong or that this one's right or this one is incorrect. It's just a different way of looking at it. So
I like that.
Perspective is everything.
It is.
So yeah.
All right. We ready for 5?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's do this.
If your 5th house ruler is its own, very fortunate, very lucky, fun, festive, roll off the shoulder types. These people, say it's Leo. We're going to use Leo as the ruler of the 5th house. They're extra extravagant and flamboyant, and life is colorful and fun. And ironically, with Leo over the 5th house, it's not a super, like, it's not something that I look at right off the bat and say, oh, children. It's more of like fun and lightheartedness and maybe some creativeness, maybe like this creative energy, as much as I just don't see Leos as being super creative. I know the 5th house is the house of creativity, and a lot of people associate Leo with the 5th house, and they do have characteristics, but I don't see Leos as being super creative. If you're a Leo out there and you strongly disagree, please let me know, because I just have not encountered that in my study. I'm going to go look for Leo artists now, but stay tuned next week. Yeah, I don't see it a lot. It's not, but I do see fun. I do see flirty. I see like a flirty personality, someone who's very flirtatious, doesn't get into relationships, constantly on to the next one, not unbothered by relationships. Like they're probably the player type or whatever. I'm not going to say the other one, but we all know. I'm working on my masculine Leo energy. Leo women, I love you guys to death. Men, it's going to take me a while.
Agreed.
You know, they don't have a good track record. I'm just going to say it. Some maybe, but you know, I have a friend who was married to a Leo for many years, and she would go to war with me all the time, and she was a Taurus, and I hope she's not watching this, but no one would know who she was anyways. And he cheated on her the whole marriage, and she found out at the end, and I was just like, I didn't want to say that I told you so. I didn't know that was going on, but I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Seems smart. Like, no girl, no. So, not saying for no one to date a Leo man, but the women. Then, anyways, on to the 6th house. Good thing if you have a Leo, you know, over your 5th house, that's really great. Good luck, and like a lot of no, that came out wrong. Not like good luck. You have good luck because Leo is very flamboyant and happy there. Not good luck with whoever you're dating there. If
good luck.
Yeah. I can't promise that end well, but you know, there's always an exception, so you might be the exception. I have to say that a lot. Well, not now. In my 20s, you know, you're giving your friend like that talk where you're like, oh God, you know, you already know where it's going to go. And you just like ruin their whole night by telling them how it's going to go. But then you're like, but you could be the exception. You know?
It totally could be different for you.
I mean, we've all seen this play out 1,000 times, but you might be different.
Yeah.
So, good times. All right. So if your 5th house ruler is in the 6th house, if your Virgo rules your 5th house, and your Mercury, because Mercury is ruled by Virgo, is in the 6th house, this can give you a connection to your health. You might be a very creative and out of the box thinking kind of individual when it comes to your health. And so I kind of think of like holistic views on health here. It gives you a different way of just viewing health in general, mental health, maybe some physical health. Your daily routine may not be very traditional, may not be very consistent. It can be a little not inconsistent, but it just has like, I'm trying to think of an example to make this make sense. If your Virgo rules your 5th house and your Mercury is in the 6th house, the way that your day-to-day of your life operates may not be consistent, and there might be some tension with that internally. And so just make sure that if you do have Virgo ruling your 5th house, and ironically, if your Mars is in the 6th house, make sure that you're finding consistency in your day-to-day. Like for some of us, and depending on other things in your chart, this may not be a problem, but if you have other aspects in your chart that don't align with this, like some people are like, oh, I feel so good when I wake up and I meditate, or if I go for a run, but then they just don't do it. And they're just like, oh, I should have ran today, or I should have, it's that kind of energy. And I know we all have that, but it's just that those sort of things can really trigger your health in a good way if you're doing them, or really trigger them in a bad way if you're not doing them. So watch this, watch out for things like that. Watch out for your mental health and make sure you're taking care of yourself and finding your day-to-day to be very important in your routine. If you have, say, Virgo ruling your 5th house and your Mercury is in the 10th house, you may find yourself really happy with your career and a really fun career, but it might change a lot. It might not be consistent, because if you think about it, your 5th house being ruled by Virgo, you follow Mercury to the 10th house. The 10th house cusp is most likely going to be the opposite. So it'll be Pisces. And Pisces can be, it's a mutable sign. So it's going to shift, it's going to change. So your career might shift and might change. You also need to look at the different, whatever the, element is. You also need to look at, is it cardinal? Is it fixed? That sort of plays a part in it as well. So keep in mind, when you have your mutable signs as chart rulers, they sometimes make that shifty, or if it's fixed, it may not ever change. Keep those in mind when you're looking at the house rulers. But the 5th house being ruled by Virgo, just make sure you're taking care of your mental health. That's all I have for that. The ruler of the 5th house in the 7th house, this one is, so this would be Libra. If Libra rules your 5th house, I just think of a very fun, could be kind of flirty. Libras like to flirt. 5th house is all about that fun energy. Also, if you think of the aesthetics of a mom, soccer mom energy, taking care of the kids, has this really nice appearance of having her shit together around her kids too, right? So it's this is that kind of energy, because Libras, we like to appear, even if we're not, or maybe we are, maybe we've got some things lined out in our life, we like to appear like we have our shit together, no matter if we do or don't. So you never know what's really going on, because everything is perfect. We only cry in the shower. It's what we do. But yeah, so it's more of the aesthetic here, beauty. And then what you would do is, if Libra rules your 5th house, then you go to your Venus, because Libra is ruled by Venus, and you find where Venus is. Say Venus is in your 7th house. It's very lucky position that you have for relationships. If your Venus is in the 12th house or the 1st house, it might be more challenging. So just depending on where your Venus is, that's kind of how that's going to play out. All right, the ruler of the 5th house and the 8th house is going to be Scorpio energy. So if Scorpio, this is what I was saying earlier, if Scorpio rules your 5th house, it's going to be that darker poetry, speaking from the soul depths, a lot of change in their life through children, transformation. They really grow, and, things like that really push them to transform. And so, yeah, if you have Scorpio as your 5th house ruler, you're going to look at either Mars or Pluto in your chart and decide how that connects to that house and that sign, and just kind of follow the compass from there.
Perfect.
I'm done here.
It actually disappeared the way normally it has a button for me to press next, but there's no button there, so I actually just pressed the slide.
It said you're done here.
It's confusing. Yeah.
I can go through the rest and just babble, but they might want to be able to see what I'm talking about, kind of.
Yeah.
Helps. All right, if your 5th house ruler is in the 9th house, so If your fifth house ruler is Sagittarius, again, we've seen this a couple of times tonight. It's very fun. It's got this gypsy lightheartedness, very freeing energy. You know, fifth house is very center stage. So I would say in this aspect that the person who is traveling, or is your friend that we looked at the chart, is she very like, is it known that she's a traveler and that she's a free spirit and that she...
This one?
Yeah, or he, sorry, I shouldn't say she. I don't know if it's a boy or girl.
They're both she's, yeah.
Do they hold energy of like traveling or philosophy, I guess, like a studious person or someone who really travels a lot and they're
both.
known for that?
Yeah, both. Both of these are from flight attendants.
Oh, okay. 100%. Okay.
Yeah.
But I was like, I try not to assume.
She's the flight attendant, but she's like also this is my glamour witch. And she does my face, but she literally knows everything about everything.
I love it. I love that.
Yeah. Like she helps me a lot with like all my autoimmune issues and like skincare, like whatever it is, health or whatever. She's got it.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah. And that kind of ties in with the Sagittarius ruling of the fifth house. It's a light, it's fun. It's got this like gypsy kind of vibe, but it does, depending on where Jupiter is in your chart, it can, downplay or upplay, however that is extreme or not. So definitely a traveler.
That's for the ninth house, right?
Yeah. And the ninth house is a great one to have. I mean, it's not in there, it's in our 10th house, but career, I mean, travel and career and the free spirited of it. I mean, and then Taurus, has a lot of really amazing healing things about them. They're nurturers, they're mothers, but they're also very earthy. And there's this way about them that they connect to the earth. And, that's probably the way she can read your immune system things, or she probably just taps into certain things that she feels from like this earthy mother goddess. Where's her moon? Oh, Aquarius. Yeah. So it's definitely, she's the same as my daughter. My daughter's a Taurus sun, Aquarius moon. Childhood. I hope hers was. My daughter is still figuring out her emotions, but yeah,
Me too.
Yeah. So anytime I see Taurus on the top of the chart like that, it just gives them a very earthy aesthetic, and we always need those friends.
Yeah, definitely. She's actually the whole reason I even like started getting into like magic and like the esoteric stuff.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's amazing. I love.
And both of her parents were born on 11/11, which is also interesting.
Huh. Scorpio. Both of them?
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, I don't know. I have one Scorpio parent, and I don't know how I would handle two. And being Taurus, being a Taurus, that's probably challenging growing up. I mean, I have to see all their stuff, but
yeah,
definitely polarities. All right. So if your fifth house ruler is in the 10th house, this is going to be Capricorn energy. So if you have Capricorn ruling your fifth house, you're going to look at where Saturn is in your chart, because Saturn rules Capricorn. But just to go over that kind of energy, fifth house, we've been talking about how it's fun and it's light and it's like lust. Capricorn is not of those things. Capricorn is serious. Capricorn, we can have fun when the work is done, kind of energy, but no one's having fun until then. That is for sure. And, up to Capricorn standards, of course. If it's lacking in any way, then yeah, there will be no fun. So this is not so much a fun placement. This is not someone that's the life of the party, living the glamour life. This is more of a serious Sally energy. But it could be the person that is orchestrating the whole play behind the scenes, making sure that everyone is where they need to be, places, and has their lines, and the psycho that's like running around like a crazy person, making sure that everything's orderly. It's probably right there with the Virgo. I should have mentioned that with the Virgo. But depending on where your Saturn is and the lessons in life that you've learned to probably let go and calm down and not be a control freak, that depends on how much you've learned and evolved through this life, depending on where your Saturn is. So if your Saturn was in an easy house, well, there's really no easy house with Saturn because it's going to bring the shits. But say you have really good aspects with Saturn, it's not really harsh in your chart, you don't go through a lot, maybe your Saturn is in let's say the 10th house. You know, that's not going to be too, you might have some challenges in the career, but again, that's what's going to push you and evolve you and make you learn and not be such a control psycho. That's fine. We all know the
laughs in Capricorn.
So what if your 5th house is Libra and Venus is in Scorpio? So Libra ruling the 5th house and you chase your Venus to Scorpio gives you a very, let me think about the way I want to word this. So Libra and the 5th house are fun and light, but there's also, when you bring Scorpio into the mix, it's kind of like a dark, sadistic kind of energy of like, maybe your humor and how you are in love can be really dark, or maybe you attract really dark partners, or, you know, because it's Venus. Venus is that love energy. So it's all about like meeting people. And initially, I think there's a real attraction to like, well, I already know this about her, bad boys. It makes sense. But bad boys, or, you know, just kind of a darker, you know, there's a darkness there. And it's like, huh, it makes you curious. And now, and with all your Gemini in there, it's all sparked and curious. And then we're backtracking. But that's typically where you would chase that. So Scorpio, just think of like relationships and how Scorpios are. Initial meeting of relationships in 5th house energy just gives you like a taste for the bad boys. She's like, that checks. I get it. I have something very similar. In my chart, I'm like, no, this is not going to be good. I am lucky that my Neptune is in, I think it's Capricorn. It's hard to get, yours is in Capricorn too, right? No,
My Neptune.
My
Neptune's in Sag, yeah.
Yeah, dang it. Overly optimistic. Mine is Capricorn, so it's kind of hard to get one past me. Like, I don't have those blind. I mean, I'm not saying never, but it's very, I'm grateful for my Capricorn Neptune, I'll tell you that. So, all right. The 5th house ruler in the 11th house. So this is if you have Aquarius over the 5th house. Now, these two are polarities. Keep in mind, the 11th house or the Aquarius is ruled by, I totally lost my train of thought. Uranus, right? Did I just lose my whole thought process on Aquarius? Oh. Well, it depends on what you, again, because I'm trying to, I typically use traditional, and it's Pluto. I feel like I'm messing this all up. Do you have your notes? I don't have my notes with me.
Oh, hold on. This.
I'm like, I'm so sorry. So Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, typically.
Aquarius is Uranus and traditionally Saturn, yeah.
Yeah. So I use Saturn and Uranus. I was just making sure that was the traditional planet ruler. I don't look at those so often, so I need to be better at that. I normally have my notes here, and I'm no good. So depending on which one, if you're more of a modern astrologer, or if you look at traditional, you're going to look at Saturn. If you're more modern, you're going to look at Uranus and kind of see where that aligns in your chart. But if Aquarius is in the 5th house, most likely your Leo is going to be in the 11th house. And so what happens there is like this fun beginning of, you know, lust and all those things can be very challenging if you have a lot going on. If you have a lot of oppositions, like a lot of planets completely opposite of your chart in the 11th house, it gives this kind of tug of war of like wanting to have fun and kind of be selfish and enjoy like the lust of life, versus like you have a job as a humanitarian to take care of the world. And are you doing that? So Aquarius is fixed, and so is Leo energy. Like, we're kind of pulling the energies from the two houses. And when you have a lot going on in both of these houses, when Aquarius is ruling the 5th house and Leo is ruling the 11th house, it makes a very complicated internal struggle. Am I being selfish? And they eventually go one of two ways. Like, they give in and they like become a martyr, or they become so selfish that they are just a selfish asshole. which we've all seen. But depending on what planets are there, how that's going to play out. But if you think about it, Aquarius energy is very eccentric. It's very free thinking. They're humanitarians in the 5th house of, fun and children. Like, these are people that are really nurturing for their kids in a way of like teaching them how to respect the earth and how to be eccentric free thinkers. They might be a little harsh on their kids. This kind of is a placement of someone that's very, maybe lacks some tact with the children, maybe sweeten it up a little bit for them in the morning, at least greet them with a smile, but can be a little asshole energy when it comes to children. But good parenting, just maybe not a soft parent, a stern parent. I shouldn't say asshole. Stern and asshole are two different things. All right. 5th house. So if your 5th house ruler is in the 12th house, so we're going to go over Pisces. If Pisces is ruler of the 5th house, then you're going to chase your Neptune and see where that's in your chart. So this one, when you take Pisces, the little dreamer, the little sweet, just dreamer, and the 5th house of children and fun and all the things, they're probably again right up there with the Scorpio and the Cancer, with the emotions and the poetry and the art and the creating in a very emotional way. This probably is a really spiritual person, very in tune with their spirituality. Also, this is kind of someone that can, anytime Pisces is over like a creative house, I think that it gives them this really amazing capability to express themselves and in such a way that other people feel it. Like they almost project their feelings at this point. And so I think that's really cool. I can always appreciate when I am somewhere and someone's so passionate about something that I can feel their passion, because I don't have a lot of feelings. It's kind of dead inside sometimes. I'm like, man, this keeps spitting these like emotions at me, because I truly don't feel emotions a lot. And so I'm grateful for that. And I love when I see people passionate. And that's kind of like that Pisces energy, because they're really good at projecting. They're empaths, but they also can project really easily. So great with children. They're probably very nurturing. If you have a lot of planets in Pisces or in your 5th house, very, I would say, ultimate like mother, nurturer, caretaker, sweet. They might rely on you too much emotionally, which is sometimes hard as a kid, especially if that's coming from your mother. But yeah, it's just kind of that emotional energy. And that's it, guys. That's it. We made it 1 hour.
We did it.
So
that was informative.
I know. Sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm talking too fast, but then I look at how much time we have and I'm like, if I don't talk faster, we're not going to make the house. We're going to be
and we've like taken this down to bite-sized pieces, but still not enough time ever, I swear. Well, awesome.
So if you guys have questions, let us know. Let us know where you are, what you're drinking, how you found us. If you want to share this with all your friends, that would be awesome. And yeah, we're here every Monday night, living the dream.
I know. I try to like send the link to my friends, and I sent the link to a friend last week, and he was like, "Damn it, Julie, I need more notice." And I was like, "It's every Monday at 7. Just put it in your calendar, set your timer,
block out your time.
We'll be here. Plenty of notice."
Sometimes we're half asleep. Sometimes we're wide awake. You never know. You might get sober, Elle, or drunk Elle, or sober Julie, or drunk Julie.
You just never know.
It's a party.
It is. Well, next week we are covering the 7th house. 6th house.
I'm like, you're just right over the 6. You don't even want to deal with it.
I don't want to deal with it. I'm already scared for next week.
I'm going to prep myself and make sure that I say all the nice things about the 6th house.
Thanks.
I don't think badly of the 6th house. It's a hard house. It's the hardest house, in my opinion.
Yeah.
A lot of people, a lot of everything that's house show up next week.
Not super fun. Yeah. So yeah, then we've got this, and then on the 18th we have our new moon here in person in Salt Lake City. So if you guys are around, check out all our socials, and you'll see the location and the time and all of that. And then our full moon is going to be on the 24th, and that'll be online as well. And Megan will be hosting that one, and that's about the snow full moon. So that'll be super fun in Virgo. Yeah.
That'll be
all
fun.
right. Well, thank you, Megan. Thank you, Elle. Thank you for everyone watching, and we will see you guys next week for the 6th house.
It's gonna be fun. Bye.
Bye.